Feminine hygiene products have received backlash for causing vaginal itchiness, rashes, prolonged menstrual bleeding, burning sensation, urinary tract infection, to worse conditions such as a life-threatening condition caused by a bacterial infection dubbed the toxic shock syndrome. These feminine hygiene products range from sanitary towels, also called sanitary pads, tampons, period underwear, panty liners, and menstrual cups. However, the scathing revelation that these products contain toxic, forever chemicals that have also a presence of synthetic ingredients, also as being advertised as safe and organic, have gained traction due to the numerous lawsuits which have been filed against big corporations such as Procter & Gamble, whose products include Always, its flagship brand that has saturated the Kenyan market. The company also has other brands such as Elle and Tampax, which are found in Western markets. A further company is Kimberly & Clark, whose products are Cortex, which has also gained a huge market success in Kenya. As for the period underwear, a huge corporation thinks is behind these feminine hygiene products. And here's an anecdote of the long-standing brain of profit cycles off of women's bodies. With a reported nearly 2 billion women menstruating each month, according to the UN and UNICEF, the feminine hygiene product business is a multi-billion industry, with sanitary pads having the largest market share, and more precisely the Always brand that is a product of Procter & Gamble, which is a company that has its headquarters in Ohio, Cincinnati, that was started in 1837 and which is now a multinational giant that gained access to the Kenyan market in 1992 by marketing and selling Always, the feminine hygiene brand that in 2015 had a reported 65% market share, making it the largest brand in the country. But being a mainstay, the company also faced sharp criticism, culminating in a history of lawsuits being settled from the 1980s. Rely tampon. In the early 1980s, Procter & Gamble faced a litany of lawsuits after it designed, tested, manufactured, marketed, and sold Rely tampons. The company, Procter & Gamble, faced nearly 400 lawsuits despite its advertising slogan that its tampons absorbed even the worry. I'm not kidding. As Rely tampons were being linked to a debilitating condition that is a toxic shock syndrome, which is a rare, potentially life-threatening complication that is caused by a bacterial infection and whose symptoms include high fever, low blood pressure, vomiting, and rashes, and that can cause organ failure and even death. Further, this bacterial infection also adversely affected the health of women by causing severe physical and emotional trauma. Despite its colorful slogan that their tampons absorbed even the worry, the company allegedly set aside $75 million to cover the litigation cases. The lawsuits claim that P&G was negligent as it owed a duty of care to their consumers, which they breached when they produced and sold defective products. A woman named Daletha Hampshire was one out of the 400 who got an out-of-court settlement. The $300,000 debt settlement. The next case resulted in P&G recalling Rely tampons and removing them from the shelves after the untimely death of a woman who used the tampons. The woman, reported 25-year-old Patricia Kemp, used the products and shortly after got the symptoms for toxic shock syndrome. She was hospitalized, to which she later died, and her husband sued on behalf of her estate, claiming that Rely tampons was the cause of her death. This is after numerous studies, including those from the National Center for Disease Control, established an increased risk in association to the use of Rely tampons and women of childbearing age suffering from toxic shock syndrome. The estate sued Procter & Gamble for designing, manufacturing, and selling Rely tampons whilst knowing it was defective and unreasonably dangerous, and also that P&G failed to adequately warn the consumers of the risk associated with the use of the Rely tampons to toxic shock syndrome. Procter & Gamble, on the other end, denied that Patricia Kemp died of toxic shock syndrome, which was caused by Rely tampons, and even if that was the proximate cause of her death, she was a unique case. The jury saw right through it and awarded the estate of the woman $300,000. Amidst fears that Procter & Gamble would face bankruptcy arising from the lawsuits and settlements, the company stopped selling Rely tampons. Against this background is a slew of legal battles which ensued, accusing the company Procter & Gamble of selling tampons which potentially had a presence of toxic metals and other contaminants. Last year, This Is L, which is an incorporation that is a subsidiary of Procter & Gamble, which has a certified B Corporation ranking, manufactured, advertised, and sold feminine hygiene products such as tampons, pads, and panty liners, whose packaging labels were being marketed as organic, BPA-free, no rayon, no chlorine bleaching, no synthetic pesticides, and that it was free from dyes and other synthetic fragrances. Further, the front label of these packages claimed that these products were 100% pure cotton, whilst other packages claimed that the products were 100% organic cotton. Further, these products also claimed that they were organic certified. These products' front labels had the effect of marketing that these feminine hygiene products were safe, organic, and therefore harmless. However, the back labels of these products belies these safety assurances. The back of these packages exposed the products for having a presence of toxic metals, synthetic and non-natural contents following the company's disclosure of such materials in the ingredient section. The ingredient section disclosed that there was a presence of polyester, which was being used as a fiber that wicks away moisture. Secondly, that there was a presence of glycerin, which was used as a coating to provide a smooth feeling. Shockingly, there was also a presence of paraffin, and even more shockingly, titanium dioxide, which is an inorganic compound that is synthetically prepared and used for its white pigment that makes materials appear white, and therefore it's used as a food additive. It's further used as a paint coating, it's used in plastic, it's used in printing ink, it's used in cosmetic products such as sunscreens, it's used in roofing materials, and it's also used in the medicinal field. Despite its multi-purpose use, the research shows that it can cause DNA, brain, and organ damage. It can also cause inflammation, lesions in the liver and kidneys, and can also cause cell neurosis. Given that titanium dioxide gets into contact with the nether region through a tampon being inserted, it's easily absorbed directly into the bloodstream. And interestingly, in 2022, titanium dioxide was banned in the EU. The European Commission banned titanium dioxide as a food additive, basically food color, over health safety concerns, which came after the European Food and Safety Administration's investigations, which reached a conclusion that titanium dioxide had a potential risk of damaging DNA cells. And with this conclusion that there is a risk of gene toxicity, there were no safe levels for its use, and all this was backed by scientific studies and data. Despite these health concerns, comically, the EU hasn't banned titanium dioxide use on medicinal products, as it claims that the ban would result in a shortage, and given that there are no safer alternatives, the ban would therefore negatively affect public health. In further descending into madness, the EU has equally not banned titanium dioxide use in tampons. This is despite the reproductive health risk it poses, even as the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies titanium dioxide as a Group 2B carcinogen, meaning that it has potential to cause cancer. Now, while some brands may suit themselves by claiming that they only use 0.1% of titanium dioxide, the problem is this small amount can still accumulate in the body, posing health risks. Lead. In July 2024, a study from UC Berkeley revealed that tampons had the presence of potentially toxic metals such as lead, arsenic, and other harmful contaminants. Following these revelations from the article, just months later, Procter & Gamble was sued in a class action suit for marketing its tampons as the #1 US gynecologist recommended tampon brand that is free of perfume, chlorine bleaching, free of dyes, and that is clinically tested to be gentle on the skin. Whilst the tampon's product labels disclose the associated risk of toxic shock syndrome to their use, and went as far as giving guidelines to which the consumers, if they wanted to reduce the risk of getting toxic shock syndrome, that they should use the tampons with the lowest absorbency. According to the lawsuit, they fell short of revealing the presence of lead in the products, which surpassed the threshold that was set in the law, the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act in California, which is dubbed the California Proposition 65 that sets the maximum allowable dose level at 0.5 micrograms of lead per day. Despite this law, the World Health Organization and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency have categorically stated that there are no safe levels of exposure of lead to our well-being and health due to its harmful effects and damages to our brains, our kidneys, and to women, it can cause menstrual cycle irregularities, birth defects, miscarriages, and even death. Currently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has launched investigations into the safety use of tampons following the revelation of toxic metals that are present. And now, home base. In Kenya, Procter & Gamble has been at the receiving end of masses. From 2020, when the Always brand was trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons under the hashtag #MyAlwaysExperience, where women associated the brand with low quality and causing vaginal itching, which put some women in a predicament as their spouses or partners suspected them of infidelity and having an infection. The women also complained of having boils, painful rashes, severe burning sensation, unpleasant odor, and embarrassing leaks. Given these harrowing experiences, women called for boycotting the Always brand, which sort of worked as the company in 2021 was ranked the 4th sanitary brand in Kenya, which is a far cry from its monopoly standing. Internet detectives started speculating the cause for these rashes and itchiness, and they claimed that the Always brand was using a plastic film top sheet which is made of polythene, which retains moisture but also traps heat, and due to humidity this caused the itching and the irritation. But this was never proved. Fast forward to 2023, a lawyer filed a class action suit at the High Court claiming that Procter & Gamble abused its market dominance position by engaging in deceptive business practices and unconscionable conduct by profiting off of false advertisement by marketing Always Ultra pads as cotton soft. They also further claimed that their products were made of cotton or cotton-like material, but the lawyer alleges that these sanitary pads had a presence of synthetic materials. He also claimed that the cotton-like representations were false, misleading, and untrue, contrary to Section 12 of the Consumer Protection Act. He also alleged that some of the products lacked adequate warning on the labels of the risks associated with the synthetic materials and also other harmful ingredients, which could adversely affect the health of women's reproductive health system. He further alleged that the product labels were not legible and that they contained technical language, which made it difficult for the average consumer to understand the nature and potential health risks of the products. Moreover, the lawyer alleged that the company had failed to disclose accurate information regarding the contents of the synthetic materials used in the sold feminine hygiene products, indicating an unjust enrichment scheme that prioritizes profit over consumer welfare and safety. Lastly, all these consumer protection violations denied consumers of their right to reasonable quality of sanitary towels. Further, they were denied of their right to access accurate information necessary for them to gain the full benefit of the products and make an informed decision of which feminine hygiene products or brands to choose from. Further, given the consumer complaints of the health effects that they suffered, it also deprived them of their right to health and safety. And lastly, given that women make up more than half of the population and generally have a high purchasing power, the women were being subjected to economic loss by trusting and purchasing such brands. By paying for these sanitary products which are being sold at a premium as consumers purchase these products based on the safety representations, the implied and express warranties of their merchantable quality and fitness for ordinary use. However, some consumers have suffered negative experiences which has affected their reproductive health, which imposes a responsibility on the manufacturer, the distributor, the supplier, and retailer as they are liable for these defective products. Hence the lawsuits implicating them in negligent practices. Further, despite feminine hygiene products being useful to consumers, these sanitary products' utility does not supersede consumer complaints, nor should the usefulness of the sanitary pad be used to minimize negative experiences. Further, all these adverse effects can be alleviated by having a robust, responsible supply chain business model that ensures the manufacturers and suppliers of feminine hygiene products meet the global quality standards, which will promote access to user-friendly, acceptable, safe, and affordable menstrual products, which will safeguard women's dignity, privacy, and bodily integrity. Moreover, they should also practice due diligence in their supply chains to identify and assess the actual risk or potential risk that the raw materials they use in the sanitary towels or tampons or any other feminine hygiene product have, and what their impact is to women's bodies and the environment. This is to ensure that no toxic metals or contaminants are used in the feminine hygiene products. Lastly, this responsible supply chain and due diligence will also ensure sustainability and proper disposal of sanitary products. Currently, the lawsuit against Procter & Gamble over falsely advertising its tampons as organic or pure cotton whilst having ingredients such as titanium dioxide is still ongoing, as Procter & Gamble failed to persuade the judge to dismiss the class action suit. Moreover, the class action suit in which P&G is being sued allegedly for failing to disclose that their tampons could potentially be contaminated with unsafe levels of lead is also still ongoing, and so is the Kenyan class action suit against Procter & Gamble for falsely advertising is made from cotton or cotton-like materials, whilst allegedly he claims that they were also made from synthetic materials. Therefore, all these claims remain as allegations until a judge rules in favor of the class action suits.